Right, so get this. We're diving deep today into some notes from Time to Rise, Breakthrough in 2025.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Day one was fascinating, all about making the impossible possible.
I know, right?
And, we're going to uncover some pretty cool patterns for personal breakthroughs today
Yeah.
that I think could really help people listening.
What stood out to me was how much they emphasized, the cyclical nature of our lives.
Yeah.
Like these predictable seasons we all go through.
Yeah.
They said each one lasts, like 15 to 20 years?
Yeah, that whole seasons of life thing really caught my attention.
Yeah.
But hold on, before we get into that,
Okay, sure.
can we just talk about the stats on habits and thought patterns?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Being 45% of our daily actions are totally habitual.
It's crazy.
And like 90% of our thoughts are just on repeat.
It's wild.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Like if we're basically on autopilot so much,
Yeah.
how do we break free?
Yeah.
Especially from those negative ruts,
Right.
the ones that just keep us stuck.
It really makes you wonder
Mm-hmm.
if we're actually in control as much as we think.
Yeah, for sure.
But the speakers at the summit were so clear about this.
What do they say?
We absolutely can break free.
Okay,
Recognizing those patterns is the first step.
I see.
Like you're becoming aware of the software running in the background.
Right, in our minds.
Exactly.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So we apply that to the seasons idea then.
Okay.
Where do you think, like, someone listening right now?
That's such a good question for everyone listening.
Right.
Where are you in your own season right now?
Yeah, are you, like, just starting out?
Yeah.
Or are you kind of in the middle of something big?
Are you in a period of intense growth?
Yeah,
Maybe starting a family or a new career?
totally. Or
Yeah.
maybe, like you were saying.
Or maybe you're in a winter phase facing, a difficult transition
Yeah.
or maybe even like a loss of some kind.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
those winter periods, they
Yeah.
don't exactly sound fun.
No, they definitely don't.
Right.
But the speakers had a really interesting take on them.
Okay, what did they say?
They framed them
Uh,
as essential for growth.
oh, interesting.
They compared it to how trees need winter
Oh, wow.
to go dormant,
Okay.
gather energy before they can blossom again.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
So it's like, even though those winter seasons
Yeah.
might feel really harsh,
Yeah, totally.
they can actually make us stronger
Right.
and kind of prepare us for what comes next.
Exactly. It's all about finding the lessons and growth
Yes.
in each season,
In each season.
even the challenging ones.
Wow.
That's how we build resilience and wisdom.
Okay, so speaking of challenges then,
Yeah, sure.
let's talk about the tech revolution that's upon us.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because, the notes from the summit paint a pretty intense picture.
I know, right?
Self-driving cars alone,
Oh, my gosh.
they're predicted to eliminate something like 8 million driving jobs.
It's crazy how quickly things are changing.
It's mind-blowing.
Right.
And that's just one thing.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
I know.
We're potentially looking at, 45% of all jobs just disappearing
Wow.
in the next few years because of AI and robotics.
That is a huge number.
It's not about fear-mongering, though.
No.
It's about recognizing,
Mhm.
these patterns and then preparing ourselves.
So what can someone listening to this,
Yeah,
like what can they do to future-proof themselves?
that's the question, right?
Any practical advice from the summit?
The biggest emphasis was on developing those fundamental skills
Okay.
that can work in any industry.
That makes sense.
Like critical thinking, problem solving,
Yeah,
creativity.
those are all good ones.
Those are going to be the superpowers of the future.
So it's about being adaptable then,
Right.
right? And constantly learning
Exactly.
and not getting stuck in a rut.
It's like having that Swiss Army knife of skills.
I like that.
You're ready for anything. It's so true. And I think that's a great point for anyone listening
Yeah,
to consider their own skills
absolutely.
and career path, right? How can you stay ahead of the curve?
Right, like how can you stay relevant?
What new knowledge could you get? What training?
Exactly.
So you can thrive in this changing world.
Yeah, because it's changing so fast.
It really is. Now, here's where I thought things got really interesting.
Okay, yeah.
The notes emphasize this idea
Uh-huh.
that we can't always control the external world.
Right.
Like, this tech takeover that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But we have complete control.
Over our internal world.
Yes, over our own thoughts, feelings, and actions.
It's a powerful reminder.
It really is.
I think we often feel like we're just at the mercy of everything happening around us.
Totally. Like it's happening to us.
Yeah. But the summit was all about reclaiming that inner power.
I love that.
And it starts with our focus.
It does. And they even put it in bold.
I know, right?
In the notes, choose your focus wisely.
Yeah. Which reminds me of that saying,
Yeah.
what you focus on, you feel. Because it's true.
Your focus literally shapes your reality.
Wow.
If you're always dwelling on what you lack,
Yeah.
you're going to feed those negative emotions.
Yeah. You just feel bad.
Right.
It brings you down.
But if you shift your focus to what you do have, the good things,
Okay.
you naturally create a more positive state of mind.
It's such a simple idea.
Yeah.
But it's so profound.
And this leads to another big idea.
Okay, what's that?
The notes talked about emotions being
Yeah.
like the puppet masters of our lives.
What do you mean?
They're driving everything
Well,
from
please.
wars to business decisions, everything.
It's kind of a scary thought.
I know, right?
Our emotions are that powerful.
It means if we learn to master our emotions,
Oh, wow.
we can kind of master our own destiny.
Whoa. That's a big statement.
I know.
But is that even possible?
That's where the summit notes got really interesting. They said that research shows we can change our emotional state
Really?
radically and even our biochemistry
Wait, how?
in just minutes.
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 Seriously.
That's what they said.
I mean, is that even possible?
It is the key, they said, is our physiology.
What, like how we're breathing?
Yeah, breathing movement,
Oh, wow.
even our posture.
So like how we're standing.
Yeah, for example, there's this study
Oh, wow.
that found just 2 minutes
Okay.
in a power pose can increase your testosterone by 20% and decrease cortisol,
Which is
stress hormone, by 25%.
So you're telling me
Yeah.
if I strike a superhero pose
Yeah.
for a couple minutes,
It could actually make me feel more confident.
that's wild.
It might sound a little crazy,
It kind of does.
but the science is there.
I know
Our
that.
body and mind,
Yeah.
they're so connected.
Yeah.
So when we change our physiology, we can directly
That
influence.
emotional state.
Exactly.
I'm starting to think that we have way more control over our internal world
Yeah,
than we realize.
for sure.
Okay. So we've got control over our thoughts, feelings, actions.
Right.
But what about those big, almost impossible seeming goals?
Uh-huh.
How do we actually make those breakthroughs happen?
The summit talked a lot about leadership.
Okay.
And it wasn't just about leading other people,
I see.
but also about leading yourself.
Oh, interesting.
They defined a true leader as someone who sees reality,
Uh-huh.
creates a compelling vision for the future,
Okay.
and tackles challenges head on
Yeah.
no matter what.
And they kept talking about this magnetic energy
Yes.
leaders have.
It's so true.
It's not just being physically energetic, is it?
No, it's not just about that.
It's more about the vibe you're putting out.
It's the way you inspire other people.
It makes me think of those people you meet
Yeah.
who just light up a room.
Yeah.
It might not even be the loudest,
No.
but they have this energy
Right.
that just draws you in.
It's palpable.
So how do we cultivate that?
Well, the summit identified a surprising ingredient.
Don't tell me it's hunger again.
You guessed it?
Okay, no way.
Yeah.
We've talked about hunger a couple times already.
Oh, right.
Can you elaborate a little?
Yeah.
Is it really just about having an appetite for something?
It's definitely deeper than that.
Okay.
Than just a rumbling stomach.
So what is it then?
They used hunger to describe that deep intrinsic drive
Uh-huh.
to learn, grow, and achieve something bigger than ourselves.
Okay.
It's the fuel that keeps us going.
Yeah.
When things get tough,
Yeah.
it propels us towards those breakthroughs.
So it's less about the skills themselves
Right.
and more about cultivating that inner fire.
That relentless desire
That makes sense.
to push yourself beyond your limits.
Okay, so what if I don't feel particularly hungry right now?
That's a good question.
Is that something I can cultivate?
They said you can.
Okay, good.
They suggested starting with getting clear on your values,
Well, that makes sense.
on what really matters to you in life.
It's about finding your why, right?
It is.
Like, why am I doing this?
Exactly.
And then the motivation comes
If
in
it-
that commitment.
it naturally follows.
I love that. So, okay.
So ask yourself,
Yeah.
what are you passionate about?
Yeah.
What kind of impact you want to make on the world?
Wow.
When you connect with that deeper purpose,
Yeah.
the hunger comes naturally.
It makes sense.
And having a supportive community plays a big role too.
That's huge.
It's tough to stay motivated if you're surrounded by,
Negativity.
negativity and doubt.
You need people who believe in you,
Exactly.
who are cheering you on.
The summit speakers were really clear about this.
What did they say?
Surround yourself with people who support your growth
Yes.
and challenge you
Yes.
to become the best version of yourself.
It's like you're creating a fertile environment where your hunger can actually flourish.
I love that.
So we've got our purpose, we've got our supportive crew,
Okay.
and that hunger is burning bright.
All right. Well, what are the actual steps?
Yeah, like what do we actually do?
To make those breakthroughs happen?
Yes.
Well, the summit dove deep into a concept
Oh, tell me.
called the 3 S's of change.
What are those?
We touched on these briefly in part 1.
Oh, right. Okay.
But I think it's worth
let's go deeper.
exploring them a little more deeply.
Okay, remind me.
Yeah.
What are those 3 S's?
Okay, so your state
Right.
refers to your emotional and physical state of being.
Got it. So how you're feeling.
Yeah, how you're feeling and showing up
Okay.
in the world.
Makes sense.
Then story
Okay.
is that narrative you tell yourself
Uh-huh.
about your life, your limitations, and your possibilities.
Okay. And the last S.
And then strategy
Okay.
is your plan of action.
Okay, so like,
The concrete steps, the steps you take
to achieve your goals.
to get what you want.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's like this.
3-legged stool.
Yeah,
You need all 3 of those,
exactly.
or the whole thing falls apart.
And they were very clear.
About that.
Yeah, you need to address all 3.
To create lasting change.
Exactly, to create lasting change.
Okay, so let's break those down.
All right, let's do it.
Starting with state.
Okay.
We've talked about power poses,
Yeah.
but what other techniques did they recommend for cultivating a more
Oh, or a bunch.
positive and empowered
Yeah.
way of being?
They talked about things like mindfulness,
Okay.
meditation, and gratitude.
Yeah.
Even simple things
Like what?
like spending time in nature,
Oh, yeah.
that can have a huge impact
I can see that.
on our state of being.
So it's all about finding what works for you,
It is.
right? And making it a regular part of your life.
Make it a habit.
So it's like building mental fitness then.
Yeah.
The more we practice these things,
Uh-huh.
the stronger we become.
And the more resilient we become.
Yeah, and then as our state shifts,
Right.
so does our story
Exactly. We start to see ourselves and the world.
differently.
Yeah, through a more empowering lens.
And then we start to believe in ourselves more.
Exactly. We start to believe that we are actually capable
Yeah.
of achieving great things.
And then that belief
Right.
fuels our strategy.
That's right.
We make plans that align
Exactly.
with that new version of ourselves.
It's a beautiful cycle of transformation.
It really is. Okay, so we've covered state.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those stories.
Okay.
We tell ourselves.
Those narratives.
We all have them.
We do.
Some good, some bad.
Some empowering.
How do we identify the ones that are holding us back
That's a great question.
and start to rewrite them?
You know, this is something I struggle with too.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Me too.
I can get so caught up in that negative self-talk.
Without even realizing it.
Yeah, it's so sneaky.
It is, what did they say?
They said to just pay attention
To what?
to your inner dialogue.
Well, that makes sense.
Just notice, what are you saying to yourself?
Every day, all the time.
Yeah. Are those thoughts helpful and supportive?
Or are they just mean?
Or are they critical and judgmental?
It's like we all have this inner critic
Exactly.
that's just telling us we're not good enough.
Once you can identify those thoughts and beliefs,
Okay.
you can start to challenge them.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, is this actually true?
That's a good question.
What evidence do I have?
Right. Like, where's the proof?
And then what would it look like to believe something different?
Oh, wow. It's like you're putting those negative thoughts
Yeah.
on trial.
You are.
Are they actually guilty?
Yeah. Are they guilty?
Of holding me back?
Exactly.
Or am I letting them run the show unfairly?
I love that.
So if they're not serving me,
Right.
then I can consciously choose to replace them
Yeah.
with better, more positive thoughts.
And beliefs.
Yeah. It's about creating new pathways then.
It is new ways of thinking and being.
So the more we practice, the better we get at it.
The more those new thoughts and beliefs
Yeah.
become ingrained.
They become the default.
You're training your brain for success.
I like that a lot.
Ugh.
Okay, we've covered state. We've covered story.
We have.
Now let's talk strategy.
Okay.
How do we make good plans?
Yeah. How do we create those action plans?
Plans that will help us get what we want.
That's where a lot of people get stuck.
Yeah, I know.
They plan and plan, but never actually take action.
The Summit speakers had a lot to say about that.
They did.
What did they say?
They emphasized setting clear goals, specific and measurable goals.
So you know what you're actually aiming for.
Exactly. You need to know where you're going.
It's like having a destination in mind.
It is.
If you don't know where you're going,
Right.
you're just going to wander around aimlessly.
You'll get lost.
So once you have those goals defined,
Yeah.
then what?
Then you break them down
Into smaller steps.
into smaller, more manageable steps.
That makes it less scary.
Yeah, less overwhelming.
So you don't get discouraged.
And you get to feel a sense of accomplishment.
Okay, so it's about having a plan.
It is.
A step-by-step guide.
To keep you moving forward.
Yeah, because it's easy to get sidetracked.
And they talked about accountability, too.
Yeah.
Like, we're more likely to stick to our plans if we have someone to cheer us on.
Yeah, someone who believes in us.
Someone to hold us accountable.
It's like having a workout buddy.
Exactly.
It's easier to stay motivated when you're not alone.
That support system is so important.
Okay, so we've got our state.
Uh-huh.
We've got our story.
We do.
And we've got our strategy.
Okay.
What's next? What about actually taking action?
That's where it gets real.
Okay, tell me more.
The speakers were very clear about this.
About what?
Action is non-negotiable.
You have to actually do something.
You have to do something.
You can have the best plan in the world.
Right.
But if you don't act on it,
it's meaningless.
It's like having a recipe for an amazing cake, but you never actually bake it.
You never get to enjoy it.
So action doesn't have to be overwhelming.
It doesn't.
It's okay to start small.
Start small.
Take baby steps.
Yeah, take one step at a time.
The key is to just keep moving forward.
Keep that momentum going.
Even if it's just a little bit at a time.
A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
That's a good one.
Right.
So true. And then as you start taking action, you start seeing results.
And that reinforces your belief in yourself and your ability to achieve your goals.
It's like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly.
You do more, you believe more, you achieve more.
I love it.
It's amazing. So, but what about those times when we have setbacks?
That's inevitable.
How do we stay motivated?
That's where they talked about celebrating.
Oh, yeah.
Celebrating your wins.
I think we forget to do that.
We do.
We get so focused
on the next goal.
On what's next.
Yeah, on what we haven't done yet.
We forget to pause.
And acknowledge.
Yeah,
how far we've come.
And all that we've achieved.
Celebrating those wins.
Even the little ones.
Even the small ones is crucial.
Why?
It helps you stay motivated.
Okay.
Boosts your confidence.
Yeah.
Reminds you that you're capable.
Of achieving great things.
Yeah.
So how do we actually celebrate?
Oh, it doesn't have to be a big thing.
Okay, good.
It can be something small.
Like what?
Take a moment to acknowledge what you've accomplished. Maybe write about how proud you are in a journal.
Or tell someone.
Tell a friend or family member.
Share it with someone you trust.
Yeah, share your win.
So it's about pausing.
It is.
Taking a moment to appreciate how far we've come.
It is, and giving yourself permission
to
feel good about your accomplishments.
Yeah, because I think we are our own worst critics.
It's true.
We're so hard on ourselves.
We're quick to point out our flaws.
Yeah.
But so slow to celebrate.
Our successes.
Yeah.
It's time to change that.
It is.
So true.
It's time to shift that dynamic.
And start acknowledging all the great things.
Yeah, all the amazing things.
That we're actually doing.
We're capable of so much more.
Okay, we've covered so much in this section.
We have.
State, story, strategy.
Interaction, accountability.
Celebrating our wins.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to take in.
I know.
But it's all interconnected.
It is.
Each piece is important.
It plays a vital role in creating those breakthroughs.
That we all want.
That we're all seeking.
Okay, so before we move on to part 2.
Yeah.
I have to bring up something you said.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of part 1.
Uh-huh.
It's a great question you left us with.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
You said,
what did I say?
What if your biggest breakthrough comes from embracing your perceived weaknesses?
That's a good one, right?
It's a mind bender.
I know.
It's a lot to think about.
I think it really challenges conventional wisdom.
Yeah, like we should focus on our strengths.
Right, exactly.
But I love that idea.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in that.
Yeah, that our perceived weaknesses could actually hold the key.
I think they do.
To unlocking our greatest potential.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about that.
We'll get into it in part 2.
We'll dive deeper into that in part 2.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we're back.
We are back.
And we're ready for more insights from Time to Rise, Breakthrough in 2025.
I know, day 1 was packed.
It really was.
With good stuff.
So I'm especially intrigued.
Oh, yeah. By what?
By this whole idea of re-engineering ourselves for success that they kept talking about in the notes.
Yeah, they talked about that a lot.
It does, a little bit.
Yeah.
But it makes sense, though.
Yeah. Why is that?
Well, we can have all the knowledge and motivation in the world.
Okay.
But if we don't have the skills and habits to actually apply them, it's like having a powerful engine without a steering wheel.
I love that analogy. You're going nowhere fast.
So true.
So yeah, this re-engineering, it's about upgrading that internal software,
Right.
developing the right tools
Yeah.
to get where we want to go.
To navigate the path towards our goals.
Exactly.
I like it. And it's interesting
Oh, yeah. What's that?
that the summit speakers didn't put all the emphasis on, intelligence or talent.
Right. It wasn't just about being smart or gifted.
Right.
They said the most important factor
What was it?
was hunger.
Hunger again?
You guessed it.
No way.
I know we've talked about it a couple times already,
We have.
but it's a big deal.
Okay. I'm sensing a theme here.
There's definitely a thing.
So tell me more.
Yeah.
How do they connect hunger to re-engineering?
Okay, so they used hunger to describe that deep intrinsic drive.
That fire in your belly.
Exactly. It's that desire to learn and grow
Okay.
and achieve something bigger than yourself.
Something more.
Yeah, something more. It's the fuel
It keeps you going.
when things get tough, and it pushes you.
Towards those breakthroughs.
Exactly.
So it's less about specific skills there.
Right.
And more about cultivating that inner fire.
It's about that relentless desire
Yes.
to push yourself beyond those limits you set for yourself.
And I love that.
So even if you're not feeling particularly hungry right now,
Yeah, what if I'm just not feeling it?
you can cultivate it.
Oh, that's good to know.
They suggested starting by getting clear on your values.
That makes sense.
Really ask yourself what matters most to you in this life.
It's about finding your why.
It is, why am I doing this?
Yeah, exactly. And then the motivation follows.
It does.
The commitment, everything else.
Exactly.
So, okay,
Yeah.
what are some questions people can ask themselves?
What are you passionate about? What gets you fired up? What kind of impact do you want to make in this world?
That's a big one.
It is. And when you can connect with that
Yeah?
deeper purpose,
Uh-huh.
the hunger naturally follows.
It's like a natural byproduct.
It is.
I like that.
And, having a supportive community is key.
Yes, it's so important.
You can't do it alone.
It's so true.
It's so hard to stay motivated
Mhm.
if you're surrounded by all this negativity and doubt.
Totally. You need people who believe in you.
You need your cheerleaders.
Yes.
The summit speakers were very clear about this.
What do they say?
Surround yourself with people who support your growth
Okay.
and who challenge you.
Yes, challenge you to be better.
Yes, to become the best version of yourself.
It's like you're creating this environment
Yeah.
where that hunger can flourish.
It's like a fertile garden.
I love that analogy. Okay, so we've got a purpose.
Uh-huh.
We've got our people.
Okay, we've got our crew.
And that hunger is burning bright.
All right, let's go.
Now what?
Yeah, what are the actual steps?
Yeah, how do we make those breakthroughs happen?
Okay, well, the summit dove deep into a concept.
Oh, tell me.
They called it the 3 S's of change.
The 3 S's of change.
Yep, we touched on these briefly in part 1.
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember.
But I think it's worth exploring them a bit more deeply.
Yeah, let's go deeper. Okay, remind me.
Yeah.
What were those 3 S's again?
Okay, so the first S is state.
Okay. State of mind.
It refers to your emotional and physical state of being.
Gotcha. So like how you're feeling.
Exactly, and how you're showing up in the world.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the next S?
The next one is story.
Story. Okay.
And that's the narrative you tell yourself about your life, your limitations, your possibilities.
The story we tell ourselves.
Exactly.
Okay, and the last S.
The last one is strategy.
Strategy.
Right, and that's your plan of action.
Okay, so the steps you take
The concrete steps you take to achieve your goals.
to get what you want.
Exactly.
So it's like a
Yeah.
three-legged stool.
I love it.
You need all 3 legs,
You do.
or the whole thing just collapses.
Exactly. And the summit speakers were very clear about this.
About what?
To create lasting change,
Yeah.
you have to address all 3.
You can't just focus on one.
You need all 3.
Okay, so let's break these down then.
All right, let's do it.
Starting with state.
Okay.
We talked about power poses earlier,
Right, striking pose
Yeah.
to shift your state.
but what other techniques did they recommend?
Oh, yeah, for cultivating a more positive and empowered way of being. There were so many.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, they highlighted things like mindfulness,
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that.
meditation,
Mm,
gratitude,
okay,
even just simple things
like what?
like spending time in nature,
Oh, yeah,
being outdoors.
just getting out in the fresh air.
That can have a huge impact on your state of mind.
I can see that.
It can really shift your perspective.
Yeah, and it's all about finding what works for you,
It is.
right? And making it a regular part of your routine.
Making it a habit.
So it's like building mental fitness then.
It is.
The more you practice, the stronger you get.
And the more resilient.
Yeah, and then as our state shifts,
Right.
our story changes too.
Exactly. We start to see ourselves and the world differently.
Through a different lens.
Yeah, through a more empowering lens, and that changes everything.
It can, and we start to believe it ourselves more.
Yes, we start to believe that we're actually capable
Of achieving those big
and
things.
achieving great things.
And that belief fuels our strategy.
It does.
We make plans that are in alignment with that new version of ourselves.
Exactly. It's a beautiful cycle of transformation.
It really is.
It is.
Okay, so we've covered state.
Okay.
Let's talk about those stories that we tell ourselves.
Those narratives we all have.
We all have them, some good, some bad.
Some empowering, some limiting.
Exactly.
Okay.
So how do we identify the ones that are holding us back?
That's the question.
And how do we start rewriting them?
That's a good question. And, this is something that I personally struggle with, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Me too.
I can get so caught up in those negative thought patterns and that negative self-talk.
Without even realizing it.
Yeah, it's so sneaky.
It is so... What did they say at the summit about that?
They said just start by paying attention.
To awareness?
Your inner dialogue.
Oh, that makes sense.
Just notice what you're saying to yourself all day long.
Yeah. Are those thoughts supportive and encouraging?
Or are they critical and judgmental?
It's like we all have that inner critic.
We do.
That's always putting us down.
Telling us we're not good enough.
Exactly. And once you can identify those thoughts and beliefs, then what?
Then you can start to challenge them.
Okay. How do we do that?
Just ask yourself, is this really true?
That's a good question.
What evidence do I have to support this belief?
Yeah, right. Like, show me the proof.
Exactly. And then ask yourself, what would it look like to believe something different?
Wow. It's like you're putting those negative thoughts on trial.
Yeah, are they guilty?
Are they guilty of holding me back?
Exactly.
Or am I letting them run the show unfreely?
I love that analogy.
So if those thoughts aren't actually serving me,
Right.
then I can consciously choose to replace them with better, more positive, more empowering thoughts.
And beliefs.
It's about creating new pathways then in the brain.
It is new ways of thinking and being.
And the more we practice, the better we get at it.
The more those new thoughts and beliefs become ingrained.
They become the default.
Exactly. You're literally training your brain for success.
I love that. Okay, we've covered state.
Okay.
We've covered story.
We have?
Now let's talk strategy.
Okay.
How do we develop effective plans?
Right. How do we create those action plans?
That will actually help us achieve our goals.
That's a good question, and this is where a lot of people get stuck.
I know, it's so easy to get stuck in the planning phase.
It is. We overthink it.
We overthink it.
And we never take action.
So what did the summit speakers say about that?
They emphasized the importance of setting clear goals.
Okay.
Specific and measurable goals.
So you know exactly what you're aiming for.
You need to know where you're going.
It's like having a destination in mind.
It is. If you don't know where you're going, you're just going to wander around aimlessly.
You'll get lost.
You'll get lost.
So once you have those goals clearly defined,
right,
then what?
then you break them down
Into smaller steps.
into smaller, more manageable steps.
Okay, so it's less overwhelming.
Exactly. It feels less overwhelming.
And you don't get discouraged,
Right. And you get to experience those small wins along the way.
which helps you stay motivated.
Exactly.
So it's all about having that plan,
It is.
that step-by-step guide
That roadmap.
to keep us moving forward.
Because it's easy to get sidetracked.
It is so easy to get distracted.
And they also talked about the importance of accountability and support.
Oh, yeah. Accountability is huge.
It is. We're more likely to stick to our plans
Uh-huh.
if we have people in our corner,
People who believe in us.
people who are cheering us on.
Yes, and holding us accountable.
It's like having a workout buddy.
Totally. You're not in it alone.
You're not alone. You have that support system.
Okay, so we've got our state,
Okay.
we've got our story, and we've got our strategy.
We do.
What's next?
What about actually taking action?
Yes. We have to actually do something.
That's where it gets real.
Okay, tell me more.
The speakers were adamant about this.
About what?
Action is non-negotiable.
You have to actually do something.
You have to do something.
You can't just think about it.
Right. You can't just plan and plan and plan.
You can't just talk about it.
You can't just talk about it.
You have to walk the walk.
You have to walk the walk. You have to take action.
So true. You can have the best plan in the world,
Right.
but if you don't act on it,
It's meaningless.
it's like having a recipe for an amazing cake,
Yeah.
but you never actually bake it.
You never get to taste it.
You never get to enjoy it.
Exactly.
So true.
So the good news is
What's that?
action doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Okay, that's good to know.
You can start small,
Okay,
take one step at a time.
baby steps.
Baby steps, just keep moving forward.
Keep that momentum going.
Even if it's just a little bit each day.
A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Exactly.
So true.
Yeah.
And as you start taking action,
Right.
you start seeing results.
And that reinforces your belief
Yes.
in yourself and your ability to achieve your goals.
It's like a positive feedback loop.
It is.
The more you do,
Yeah.
the more you believe you can do.
And the more you believe, the more you